These are two of the top home backup power stations right now, and I pushed both to their limit and one did better than the other. This is the Jackery HomePower 3600 Plus, and this is the brand new BLUETTI Elite 300. And I tested both with real appliances to answer the biggest questions that I had before buying. Like, what can they actually run, how long can they last, and what happens when you really push them? So let's start with my biggest question is, what can these actually power? The Jackery is rated at 3600 watts, while the BLUETTI is 2400 watts with a 4800 surge, and in real use that difference shows up immediately. With the Jackery, I was able to run high demand appliances, things like heaters, kitchen appliances, and multiple devices at once. BLUETTI handled essentials really well: fridge, lights, TV, even some other appliances I was surprised by. But once I started pushing it to much heavier loads, that's where you hit the limit. So if you're wondering, can it run something like an air conditioner? The BLUETTI can handle smaller units, but larger ones are going to push it. The Jackery just gives you a lot more headroom and is capable of a lot more. The next big question that I had is, how long can this actually power your home? Realistically, both of these are designed for essential backup, not running your entire house non-stop. But here's the difference. The BLUETTI can keep your essentials going for a solid amount of time. Fridge, internet, lights. The Jackery can do that too, but it's also designed to scale into a much larger system if you need more runtime, so it can be a true home backup. So let's get into the test. So both of these can handle your basic appliances. As you can see here, the BLUETTI was able to easily handle both this air purifier and the TV and a DJI mic at the same time with the zero issue. For both the BLUETTI and the Jackery, this is lightweight. It barely even affects the unit. Now, another thing I was very impressed by is how both of these units were able to handle our huge Cuisinart oven, and this is like a toaster oven. So both of these held up for the test. The Jackery obviously had a bit more headroom, so it was able to handle it better, but the BLUETTI also did a fantastic job. Now, this is what I would like to call as the limit test. So I pushed the BLUETTI here to its absolute limit by adding both the tea kettle and the Cuisinart. So this pushed it to its limit, whereas the Jackery could actually handle this. Another really cool test that I did that worked really well was I tested these both with a full fridge and a tea kettle at the same time. And so you can see here how these both performed, and they both handled it. Yes, they both were able to handle it. Just for fun with the Jackery, I also threw the air purifier on while it was powering the tea kettle and the fridge at the same time, and it handled it with such ease. Now let's touch on something practical: stacking devices. So this is where things get real, because you're not just powering one thing, you're running your fridge, charging devices, maybe using something in the kitchen. The Jackery handles that much more comfortably. With the BLUETTI, you just have to be more aware of what's running at the same time. Now, let's also talk about battery life, because this is one of the biggest and most essential things when buying a unit like this. So battery-wise, they're actually pretty close. They're around 3 to 3.5 kilowatt hours. So both can run essentials for hours, but the difference is how hard you can push them during that time. Now, in terms of portability, this is where the BLUETTI really stand out. It's smaller, lighter, easier to move, something you can realistically take on trips or use around that house. The Jackery does have wheels, but this is more of a home backup unit you roll into place. So yes, the portability on the BLUETTI is legit. It's noticeably easier to handle. Now, in terms of noise and quality, both are really quiet, both feel very well built. These are solid brands, and both are very easy to use. You literally plug them in, turn on, and you're good, and they both have really good apps. There's nothing complicated. Now, one thing I also did want to mention, there are some questions that I had about the power limits in certain modes, and realistically with any system like this, output can vary depending on how you're using it, especially in backup or UPS style setups. So it's always worth checking how you plan to use it day to day. This is where most people get it wrong. They go smaller thinking it's enough, and then the moment they actually need more power, they hit that ceiling. So here's the simple way I would decide. If you want something that can handle more power, more devices, and that you won't outgrow, go with the Jackery. If you want something portable, reliable, and great for essentials or travel, I would go with the BLUETTI. It just comes down to how much power you actually need. At the end of the day, both of these are incredibly solid. I'm really impressed. It just comes down to what you actually need. If you're planning for real outages, running multiple appliances, or just want something that will last you a long time, the Jackery HomePower 3600 Plus is going to give you that extra headroom and peace of mind. But if you want something more compact, easier to move, and still powerful enough for essentials, travel, or everyday use, the BLUETTI 300 makes a lot of sense. Just think about what you realistically need to power, because that's where you're going to feel the most when it actually matters. And whichever direction you go, it's better to figure that out now than when the power's already out. Thank you so much for watching. I do hope this video helped, and have a wonderful day.